What is up, you beauties? Brendan with Hero Dose Wellness here. Appreciate you joining me for yet another yoga flow. We're going to do a nice power yoga vinyasa flow, get some nice strength and flexibility going to start the day. Rocking a new look today. Beard was getting itchy. Brother suggested that I try wearing a mustache for once, so why not? I'm guessing I'll probably shave it off tomorrow, but who knows? Maybe we'll rock with it. I'm going to wear it today, though. So I guess with that, we will go as the non sequitur for the flow today. What or who is your favorite movie mustache of all time? We'll answer it at the end. I also found this blue jay feather as I was getting set up. I just thought that was kind of cool, so why not show it to you guys, you people? Let's do it. Let's do this power yoga flow. All right. Coming onto our mats, we're going to come onto our backs to start. We're just going to do some windshield wipers. So can start by hugging those knees in real quick if you want. Just a nice gentle massage into the mat with your low back. Go ahead, bring the soles of your feet down. Keep those knees bent. And again, just doing some windshield wipers, just dropping those knees side to side. If you want to add a little bit extra here, you can go ahead and extend the top leg out on each repetition, and we're just going to flow here for a couple breaths and get the hips warmed up, get some nice blood flowing in the legs. We'll do two more on each side. And we're going to roll on up, and we're going to come into sitting on our butts with our legs out long in front of us. We're just going to come into a seated forward fold. So here, making sure this fold is coming from your hips to protect your low back, but just starting to fold forward. Maybe your hands are grabbing your toes, maybe they're grabbing your heels, maybe they're grabbing your shins, whatever's most comfortable for you. Settle into that stretch, start to feel, your hamstrings, your calves, your glutes, your ankles really start to open up here. If you want to make it a little bit more active, you can gently bend one knee at a time and deepen in to the stretch, doing a little walk here in the seated forward fold. I'll just remain here for just a few more breaths. Really focusing on controlling that breath, especially once we get into some of these more power poses, standing poses. It's vitally important for us to remain in control as we find our balance. All right, take one more breath here in the seated forward fold. And go ahead, bending the mat on myself. Cross your legs, roll forward, palms come onto the mat, flip the feet, and swing back into a downward facing dog. You can go ahead and press through your palms up through your shoulders and then sink your heels down into the mat. You can be doing both at the same time, or again, if you want to make it more active, you can bend one knee at a time, doing some pedaling with the heels, getting a deeper stretch in the calf and into the ankle. Now, right leg's going to shoot up in the air, and then right foot is going to come in between the hands. Right knee stacks over the right ankle, and then can go ahead and bring that left knee down to the mat, coming into a low lunge. Can hold the stretch here, sinking in, really opening up your hip flexors, or if you want to invite a little bit more activity into this, you can go ahead, go cactus arms, and then add some gentle rotations side to side or some more lateral movement. hold here for just a few breaths. One more breath here. Go ahead, palms come down onto the mat. Go ahead and swing that right leg back into a downward facing dog. You can remain here in down dog, or we can go ahead and start to shift forward into a high plank, coming down into a hover, rolling forward, flipping the tops of the feet onto the bottom of the mat, pressing through the palms and into an upward facing dog or a chaturanga or a vinyasa flow. Really starting to feel your chest and your shoulders start to open up as well, getting a nice release down your spine. Shifting back into downward facing dog. Left leg shoots up in the air. Left foot comes in between the hands. Left knee stacks over the left ankle. Right knee comes down to the mat. Sink into this nice low lunge here. Again, if you want some more activity, cactus arms, gentle rotations, side to side. Continue here for a few breaths. One more breath here. Palms come back down to the mat. Left leg swings back into a downward facing dog. Again, you can hang out here if this is enough for you, or you can go ahead and mix in that chaturanga or vinyasa flow. Shifting back, downward facing dog. Right leg shoots up in the air. Right foot comes back in between the hands. Right knee stacks over the right ankle. Left knee comes down. Now here, we're going to bring both palms inside of the right foot, pressing into the mat. You can hold here in the lizard pose if this is enough for you. If you want to take it a step further, you can go ahead and drop down onto that right forearm. If you want to go even further, you can drop down onto that left forearm. And then for the final variation in this particular flow that we can go for is, if you're feeling it, can go ahead and invite in some activity, staying on that right forearm, opening up the left side body here, reaching that arm towards the sky, and then gently coming back to center. Just doing a few gentle repetitions here in the lizard pose. Go ahead and do one more rep here if you're doing the active portion. Coming back to center if you're on your forearms, going pressing back up onto your palms. Swing that right leg back around, downward facing dog, and into that vinyasa flow. Shifting back, downward facing dog, left leg comes up in the air, left foot in between the hands, left knee stacks over the left ankle, right knee comes down to the mat. Palms come inside of the left foot, pressing up underneath the shoulders, or can drop down onto one or both forearms, or stay down here on the left forearm as we gently rotate the right side body open, reaching that arm up towards the sky. Hold for a few breaths here or for a few repetitions. Last rep here if you're doing the active portion. If you're on your forearms, go ahead and press up through your palms. Swing that left leg back around into downward facing dog. And if you're feeling it, going for that chaturanga, that vinyasa flow. Here we will now begin the power yoga portion of the flow through to the end. Build some good strength, build some good flexibility. Downward facing dog, right leg shoots up in the air, right foot comes in between the hands, right knee stacks just behind the right ankle. Now, left foot, we're going to allow the heel to now come down onto the mat and ensure that it is shooting out 90 degrees from our mat, where the right foot is just facing forward. Hips are shooting out at a 45-degree angle from the mat, and then sinking in to this warrior two as we extend our right arm out in front of us, left arm out behind us, and shifting our gaze over the middle finger of our right hand. Hold here in warrior two for just a few breaths. Been a helicopter flying overhead all morning. No shortage of noise. We're not gonna let the helicopter disturb the peace that we are creating on the space or in the space that is our yoga mat. Take one more breath here in warrior two as you pinwheel the arms down, palms onto the mat, swing that right leg back into downward facing dog, going into vinyasa flow, shifting back to down dog. Left leg shoots up, left foot in between the hands, left knee stacks behind the left ankle, right heel comes down, shooting out at the 90-degree angle as we sink in and allow our hips to open up at a 45-degree angle for warrior two. So extend the left arm out in front of us, right arm out behind us, and holding here for just a few breaths. One more breath here as we pinwheel the arms, palms come onto the mat, left leg swings back. I'm actually going to rotate the mat so you can get a different angle of these poses. You can get a side angle of these poses. Coming back to downward facing dog, into the vinyasa flow. Back to downward facing dog. Right leg shoots up, Right foot comes forward, warrior two. Swing those arms around. Gaze goes over the middle finger of the right arm extending out in front of us. Hold here for just a few breaths. Go ahead and reverse that warrior. Drop the left arm down the left leg as you shoot that right arm up in the air, reaching back and behind. Reverse warrior as we then pinwheel the arms coming back to the mat. Right leg swings back, downward facing dog into the vinyasa flow. Back to down dog. Left leg shoots up in the air, left foot comes forward, warrior two. Swing the arms around, gaze shifts over the middle finger of the left hand, and settle into this warrior two for just a few breaths here. And then dropping that right arm down the right leg, reaching back and behind with the left arm for a reverse warrior. Hold here for a breath. And then pinwheeling those arms back down to the mat. Left leg swings back, downward facing dog into the vinyasa flow. Getting some real good strength in the shoulders and the chest built if you are including these vinyasa flows, but if not, it's totally fine because we're building all sorts of strength and flexibility in our legs and in our core. Back to downward facing dog. Right leg shoots up in the air, right foot comes forward, back to warrior two. If you haven't noticed, we're building upon the poses that we're adding, swinging the arms around and sinking into warrior two for just a few breaths here. Go ahead and reverse that warrior. And then shifting all of our weight forward onto our front right foot here. So just on the single foot, using your left hand to grab your left foot, and then beginning to lean forward and extending that right arm out as well, kicking out that left foot, getting a real nice stretch in your left quad, settling into the dancer pose for just a few breaths. And can go ahead and release that back foot, letting the palms come back down to the mat. Left foot comes down, right foot swings back, downward facing dog into the vinyasa flow. Shifting back to downward facing dog. Left leg shoots up, left foot comes forward, warrior two. Hold here for just a couple breaths. And dropping that right arm down the right leg for the reverse warrior for just a breath. as we now shift all of our weight forward onto the left foot, grab the right foot with the right hand, start to gently lean forward, getting a real nice stretch in the back of your left leg and your hamstring and your calves, extending that left arm out, kicking the right foot back, and settling into dancer pose here on the left side for just a few breaths. The wind is knocking me in all sorts of directions. It's challenging my balance. It's one of the best parts about doing these flows in the elements, is we invite additional challenges to see what we're made of, to truly test ourselves. Okay, go ahead and release that back foot. Palms come down to the mat. Right foot comes down, left foot swings back, downward facing dog. Vinyasa flow. And we just have one more sequence on each side, and that will conclude the power yoga. Shifting back, downward facing dog. Right leg shoots up. Right foot comes forward, warrior two. Just a couple breaths. Reverse that warrior. Shifting forward into almost losing the balance, almost losing it, but we didn't. Shifting forward into dancer pose for just a few breaths. Then from dancer, we're going to move into the half moon pose. So staying on just this right leg, go ahead and release that left foot. Extend your left leg out behind you. And then allow your right hand to come down onto the ground about anywhere 8 to 12 inches in front of you and 6 to 8 inches out to the side as you rotate open and open your left side body. Again, extending your left leg out behind you and shooting your left arm up towards the sky, opening your body up to the left as much as you can and holding here. And if this is too much for you, you can bring that left hand down to the mat and do a standing split. That said, if your body allows you to, I encourage you to challenge yourself in this half moon pose. Hold here for one more breath. And letting that left hand come down to the mat. Left leg comes down. Right leg shoots back. Downward facing dog into the chaturanga, the vinyasa flow. We've just got one more side, and then we'll just do some light shaking out of the legs. Shifting back to downward facing dog. Left leg shoots up. Left foot comes forward, warrior two. Hold here for just a couple breaths. And go ahead and reverse that warrior. And then shifting your weight forward into your left foot, coming into dancer pose for just a couple breaths. Go ahead and release that right foot. Extend that right leg back behind you. Left hand comes down to the ground as you gently rotate open your right side body. Right arm shoots up towards the sky. Hold here in the half moon pose for just a few breaths as we invite in gratitude, as we should be thankful that we have taken the time to engage in such a flow, to take time to reconnect with our bodies and with our minds here on our mats today. One more breath here in half moon. Let that right hand come back to the mat. Right foot comes down. Left leg swings back, downward facing dog. You can go ahead and mix in one final vinyasa flow here. Shifting back, downward facing dog. Then you can just walk, jump, or hop your feet forward to the front of your mat. And then here we will just wrap up with some side lunges. So letting your feet come a little bit more than hip distance apart, and then slowly starting to bend into one side, coming onto the heel of the extended leg and really feeling a nice stretch in your calves and then up in your hamstring into your glute and your groin here. Can hold here for just a few breaths, or if you want to make it a little bit more active, if you're on the ball of this foot here, you can just do some repetitions of dropping down onto that ankle and then shifting back up onto the ball of that foot to deepen the stretch. We'll do one more breath here as we now simply switch sides. And that just about does it. Shouldn't say just about does it, that does do it. That's it, a nice power yoga flow. It's probably about 10:30 here. The sun is still on the rise. It's looking like a pretty beautiful Friday here in Massachusetts. And taking one more breath here in the side lunge. And that does it. That is our power yoga vinyasa flow here. As far as my favorite movie mustache of all time, I'm going to try and not be super long-winded and talk a bunch at the end of the video like I have been in other ones, so I will just say my favorite movie mustache of all time. It comes from one of, if not my favorite movie characters of all time. He is the most aristocratic bounty hunter to ever clean teeth. My favorite movie mustache is Val Kilmer's depiction of Doc Holliday in Tombstone. Would love to hear your favorite movie mustaches. Email them to me. Leave them in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And feel free to check out my other channels. We got Hero Dose Life Talks on YouTube. We got Hero Dose Wellness on Instagram and TikTok. Check them out if you're feeling it. But again, just thanks for taking the time to join me in this yoga flow. And hope to see you for the next one.